it up, swashbucklers! You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 137. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show each and every week. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for telling your friends. Thanks for sending donations, supporting the sponsors, all that stuff that helps me keep the old ship afloat. I appreciate it. So, episode number 137. Fun fact about the number 137, lots of fun facts actually. Since the 1900s, the number 137 has been postulated by physicists to be at the heart of a grand unified theory of physics, which is not a thing yet. They keep trying, but it's not a thing yet, and they haven't quite made that connection with 137 yet. But ever since the early 1900s, they've been thinking that 137 is going to be in the mix there somewhere. It's also related to the fine structure constant of quantum electrodynamics, which is a related thing to that grand unified theory, but it's a little piece of it there. And so 137, very popular in physics, almost a superstition, if one might call anything like that in science. But it also shows up in study of Kabbalah. It also shows up as the most common age in the Christian Bible. There's 3 characters in the Bible that live to the age of 137. And so this is a number that shows up in lots of different places, science-y, religion-y, all sorts, nature-y. It's a strange one, and I honestly didn't go that deep into it because it's a rabbit hole. So if you want to get down in that 137 rabbit hole, just Google 137, and your afternoon is shot. There's nothing left of it after that. But today's show is not about any of that. It's not about religion. It's not about science. It's about Richard Rasner, aka Damashi de Gascoigne of Clan Darksail. Yeah, we're going to talk some good Hollywood piratey kind of stuff today. It's going to be fun. And we're going to dig into why they're French, how the group started, some of the Hollywood stories, the projects they've been involved with. We're going to talk a little more Pirate Captain Toledano because they were involved in that project. Lots of good stuff. Fun interview coming up in just a second. But before we get to that, I want to talk about this thing. So before I do record this part of the show, which I do on Monday afternoons because you get it on Tuesday morning, and I make a salad, and I eat my salad for lunch, and then while I'm doing that, I make out my show notes of stuff I'm going to talk about during this portion of the show and everything and all that kind of stuff. And as I was making my salad, I was thinking about some of the historians I've come into contact with over the past couple years of doing this show. And historians are a funny breed. History is it's a creative art, much like anything is. There are facts, and I'm super in favor of facts. Real facts are super great. But historical analysis can be colored by the beliefs of the historian. And that's fine. I am open to hearing everybody's point of view on these different historical ideas because I don't think we ever actually get to the truth of what really happened because we weren't there. But we can get to a semblance of truth, and I love entertaining the different ideas of what was happening in history to see if we can get as close as we can. So let me relate this to the comedy business for a second. I learned long ago that when you are approaching the booker of a comedy club, a club you want to work at, you're walking up to the booker, the worst thing you can say to them, maybe not the worst, but right up there, one of the worst things you can say to them is, I'm better than everybody else you've booked at this club. Because first of all, probably not true. Second of all, you've just told the booker that they have crummy taste in comedy and don't know how to book a show. So it's not going to get you in. And, I am sometimes approached by historian type people with that kind of thing where they say, I want to tell you the truth about what really happened during whatever, blah, 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 And this is not one person. This is lots of people that have done this over the years. And truth is always in all capital letters and really is always in all capital letters. And I like the passion behind that statement, but at the same time, like I said, I don't think we ever know exactly what the truth is of any of these historical situations, short of what we actually see written in period documents and things like that. But the analysis of the whys and whats of all those situations can be very up in the air and colored by the historians. So I have had multiple people come at me like that, it's sort of aggressive, really, but have come at me with, I'm going to tell you the real story of what's going on. And it's like, okay, just mellow out. We're talking about dead people here. It's in the long run, it's important and not important. And that's the way I approach nearly everything in my life. This is super important and also not important in the universal context of the world. So anyway, that's yeah. But I am speaking of things that are important to me and also not super important in the universal context of the world. I will be on the road for the next couple weeks, hitting a lot of gigs. So in this time period where we are, always comedy is important, laughing is important, and in the long run, nobody cares about my little jokes. But it's cool. It's going to be fun. I want you to come out. So here's the lineup of shows coming for the next couple weeks. Friday, April the 27th, I'll be at the Ventura Harbor Comedy Club in Ventura, California. That's with Willie Barcena that night. Saturday, April the 28th, Flappers Comedy in Burbank, California with Forrest Shaw from the Jim Jeffries Show. That'll be fun. And Sunday, April the 29th, the Ice House, Pasadena, California. I will be doing a guest set in front of Mark Sweet, who is a hypnotist. Yeah, hypnotism shows. Those are always fun. I love those. May 1st, that's a Tuesday, Sally Tomatoes in Santa Rosa, California. I'm headlining that night. May the 3rd, Blue Lagoon, Santa Cruz, California. It's the 11th anniversary of the Blue Lagoonies Thursday comedy show. And I think the first time I did the show was the second show. So I've been doing this gig a long time. It's fun. It's a great show. Some nights it's a terrible show, but it's always an interesting show. That's for sure. So that's May 3rd at the Blue Lagoon in Santa Cruz, California. May the 4th, All Out Comedy Theater, Oakland, California. And May the 5th, I'll be headlining at Lake of the Pines in Auburn, California. Lots of non-California stuff coming up pretty soon. I got dates in Michigan, looking at some Chicago, some Wisconsin. Chattanooga is on the calendar. Lots of cool stuff coming up. So come on out. Here's some jokes. Hear me sing some songs, and we'll all forget that the universe exists. Speaking of songs, have you ever wanted to learn how to play guitar? That's one of the things that I've done over the years is taught a lot of people, hundreds of people, how to play the guitar. And I've got a new program out that is free for you to sign up for. It's the 30-Day Guitar Challenge. And what it does is it takes you from I've never touched a guitar before to playing 3 complete songs in 30 days. And it only takes 10, 12 minutes of practice per day. I've got it really broken down for you. This is a free program that you can check out if you've ever wanted to learn how to play guitar. This is a good time to do it. It's underthecrossbones.com/guitar. Go check that out. It's free, and there's a course after it and whatever, but that's for later. Just go do the 30-day guitar challenge. Get your hands on the guitar. It's a lot of fun. If you're enjoying the show, come join us over on Facebook, facebook.com/underthecrossbones, twitter.com/undercrossbones, no the in that one. And of course, you can get all the show notes for this episode at underthecrossbones.com/137. All right, let's get to the pirate talk, shall we? We're going to talk to Richard Rasner, aka Damashi de Gascoigne of Clan Darksail, and he has lots of fun stories about the life of a Southern California pirate. And we talk about the nature of being a pirate as an occupation and a calling and all the various things that go into that. So it's a really fun interview. So let's get into it. Here's my talk with Richard Rasner from Clan Darksail. Check it out. Richard Rasner, Damashi de Gascoigne, if I'm pronouncing it right, and you were the head of Clan Darksail. So first of all, tell me what Clan of Darksail is and what your function in the pirate community is.
All right, well, fantastic. So it's actually, our full name is the Royal French Privateers of Clan Darksail, which is kind of a mouthful, but we are privateers as opposed to pirates, which, as you know, is just that simple little mark of commission that doesn't mean anything to the other side anyhow.
Sure.
Our motto is education through entertainment, and we've been around for 20 years now. We're now in our 20th year. We started in 1998, actually 97, but officially 98. And we've been around 20 years. We do Renaissance fairs and pirate festivals and school demonstrations. We work with the San Diego Maritime Museum. We do TV shows, movies, commercials. Anytime people want Pirates for Hire, birthday parties, that sort of thing, that's what we do.
Nice.
So we're an acting troupe primarily. We are actors. But we also educators. Like I said, our motto it's very important to us is education through entertainment.
Okay, I have 2 questions. First of all, 1998 is well before the current popularity of pirates, thanks to Disney. What made you become a pirate guy at that time when it was not a popular thing?
It wasn't. In fact, it was, Cutthroat Reef had come out, and it was horrible, and no one liked it. Pirates were not very popular. And we almost gave up being pirates. I did some stunt work very briefly, some motion capture work for Pirates of the Caribbean 1.
Okay.
And Curse the Black Pearl. But we almost get being pirates because pirate became so popular at that point that we were almost hipster about it and going, man, do we really want to? Everyone was wandering into our encampments going, oh, why is the rum gone and blah, blah. And we were very concerned about being historically accurate and not just typical Hollywood, swashbuckling type deals.
Sure.
So we decided to do it. We were trying to come up we were in the SCA, Society for Creative Anachronism, and we were trying to come up with an idea, a cohesive reason for a group to exist. And did we want to be Vikings, or do we want to be Romans, or do we want to be, one of our founding members of the group said, hey, I'm kind of been interested in the golden age of piracy, and maybe we should look into that. And so I went, and I'm a historian by nature, and I did a lot of research. And I said, yes, this is what I want to do. And I brought books to the table, and I brought research. I said, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to set it up, and I think we should be privateers instead of pirates. And it just kind of went from there, and it snowballed. That's how I became a maritime historian. I started doing research. I wanted to be the quartermaster at the time, and I was doing a lot of research. And there wasn't a lot of information on quartermasters. You can find a lot on captains and a lot on other stuff. So I went and I researched. And I flew to Florida and translated stuff from Spanish, and I did a bunch. I really wanted to learn about this stuff. And I kind of became, sort of by default, the world's foremost expert on quartermasters because there wasn't anybody else.
Interesting.
So I wrote an article for No Quarter Given magazine called Fun Facts About Quartermasters. And then we got a call from the History Channel who said, hey, we read your article, and we want to know more about you. Would you be interested in consulting on this show we have called Conquest? And this is back in the early 2000s. I said, yeah, absolutely. So we came down, we supplied some actors, and I was a historical consultant for that TV show. That starred Peter Woodward from The Patriot and some other stuff. Okay. And it was a lot of fun. We had a really good time. And then that kind of picked up. Master and Commander, a friend of mine was the casting director and said, hey, can you come down and some of your guys just be background extras on Master and Commanders? We did that. The SpongeBob movie, the first one. And just little things here and there that we started doing. Mall openings. They had a shooting gallery they wanted us to come do. It was a pirate shooting gallery. So can we come down and do the opening for that and talk to the audience and the news and all that? And it kind of snowballed.
That's interesting. Well, what I think is funny about it is that a lot of the pirate groups I have talked to do, or at least the ones in Southern California, they do the movies, they do the TV, they do the consulting, and then they also do the mall openings and the birthday parties. And I think that's the only occupation where that would happen. Like if you're a clown doing birthday parties, you're not the clown that's in the movies. Or if you're the musician or actor who's working at the mall, you're not working in the movies. I always think that's really interesting about that. Why do you think there's the crossover potential that has?
Well, gosh, being a pirate or a privateer is a pretty niche market to begin with. Yeah. And I have to admit that what we do for birthday parties is a lot more Hollywood pirate than what we do for the movies. The reason why Clan Darksail is hired very often, like for Pirate Captain Toledano, is because we pride ourselves in being historically accurate. Our girls aren't wearing Victorian underbust corsets, and our guys aren't wearing skull and crossbones on their hats because that's just not what pirates did in period. Sure. And so we get hired a lot because of our authentic costuming and our authentic pirate stuff. But then as far as parties and things like that, people call us because they say, hey, we saw you were on the History Channel, and that's really neat, and we want to hire real pirates for our party, even though we do end up a lot more, especially for kids' birthday parties, a lot more fast, doing that Robert Newton South English country accent versus our normal French privateer accent that we do for a lot of other stuff. Sure. But it is interesting that we have that option to do both, and I don't think a lot of other people get to do that. And it's very, very much fun for us. That's interesting. So why French privateers as opposed to Spanish or English or any of the other common choices? Well, that's common was the key there. You mentioned, as you noted, that we started piracy when pirates weren't popular, and we picked the French because there are a lot of English pirates out there. Pretty much everyone does English, it's kind of their deal, and the Spanish are always the bad guys, and that's okay. The French in this time period, we portray 1660s, which is very early golden age of piracy, more Sir Henry Morgan than Blackbeard. Sure. But in this time period, Louis XIV he's cock of the walk. He's the main king. It's called the Age of the Sun King. They're a huge naval superpower. They're probably the biggest superpower in the world. The French in general, people always say, oh, we surrender, we're French. And that's very, very, very late period. That is World War I, World War II. The French, the Normans conquered the Britons, and the French conquered, Louis XIV conquered pretty much all of Europe. He marched on the Pope when the Pope said you can't do that. And then the Pope had to apologize and put up a statue commemorating his apology to Louis because Louis was very upset with him. And then after that, Napoleon, and later the French bailed us out of the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. The French were huge military power, and really nobody plays them. That's part of the thing, is there is no, you go to Renaissance fairs or pirate festivals and you see, usually there's a good Spanish group. There's almost always 10 or 12 English groups. Sometimes you get a Dutch East Indies trading company, but there's never any French. And we wanted to be different and put that out there. And because the French were they were the huge naval superpower, we thought it was very important that be portrayed accurately.
Interesting. What kind of differences are there between, say, the English and the French in, say, costuming, or I'm sure you're doing accents and things like that, but what would somebody looking at your group go, oh, they're French? See,
I'll have to send you a picture of me in garb because I'm pretty obviously French.
Okay.
One thing is we obviously put a lot of fleur-de-lis on our everything.
Okay.
Because that's very French looking. The fashion of the time period was very French influenced. Whether you were French or not, almost everyone wore French fashion. But there are some very specifically French things that we wear, like a cravat, that sort of lacy, poofy chest thing, the blouse sleeves. The women wear 3/4 length sleeves under their gowns. The tricorn actually was very popular in France earlier than it was anywhere else.
Okay.
But almost everybody at pirate fairs was a tricorn these days,
Yeah.
so that doesn't really help. If you know your fashion history, that's cool. If you don't, whatever. But mostly it's a lot of fleur-de-lis and our accents, obviously, as you pointed out. Wigs, we do wear our wigs, or at least I do as the Marquis. I'll put on my big fancy curly wig, which is very French looking. And also shoes with heels.
Oh.
That's very popular. Louis XIV was very short, and so he wore red cork high heels. In fact, he sort of pioneered the high heels for men thing. And unfortunately, everybody else in court thought, wow, the king's wearing it, I should wear it too. So they put on high heels, which of course made him upset because then they were all taller than him again. So that, and also curly mustaches, which is just very stereotypically French, but I have a huge handlebar mustache and people look at me and go, oh, wow, you must be French.
Right. Or a hipster. There we're back to the hipster thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Funny. So then do you play a quartermaster character since you are the master of quartermasters?
I did for a long time. For the first 15 or so years, 12 years in Darksail, I played the quartermaster. And we had a previous captain that was in charge. And that captain ended up leaving our group after to start his own ship and do some other stuff. And I really wanted to stay quartermaster, but it was because I was running the group, it was very confusing to the crew. And a lot of people would come to visit would say, oh, you must be the captain. You must be in charge. I really didn't want that. But eventually what we decided, as more ships joined Clan Darksail, which is a flotilla, I had various captains. They ended up making me the commandant. So my official title right now is commandant of the flotilla, which is essentially admiral of the armada, except we're not navy, we're privateers.
Right.
So I'm commandant of the flotilla. So my official title is commandant of the flotilla of Clan Darksail, which currently we're down to 2 ships. We have our Levia Abroca and our Kronos ships, and they have captains in their own crews. So the Kronos has about 20 to 30 members on it, and the Levia Abroca, we average 60 to 70 people at an event, but we have up to 200 members that are active on our crew right now. So
nice.
We're a very large group. One of the largest acting troops, I think, in the Southwest U.S., if not all of the U.S. total.
That's fantastic. That's really cool. So when you were diving into the legends and lore and facts about quartermasters, there are probably some people listening to the show right now who aren't sure what a quartermaster is. What's a basic, simple definition of what a quartermaster does?
All right. So the quartermaster, there's 2 things to know about quartermasters that are very important. One is, much like the captain, they are voted into place. And they are in charge. Their official job is in charge of when you board another ship, sack, loot another ship, the quartermaster decides what they take and what they leave behind. The quartermaster is in charge of stuff, goods, much like a modern army quartermaster is. He also is in charge of payout on the crew, making sure everyone gets their shares properly doled out. And then, most importantly, I think, the quartermaster is in charge of punishment. If you do something wrong, if you violate your ship's articles, the quartermaster is the one that administers the lashings, administers the hanging, administers the keel hauling, whatever else it is. The quartermaster is kind of like the vice principal. They're sort of the scary person in charge. But the other thing that's important about quartermasters, the reason why I wanted to be quartermaster when we started out was I found out the quartermaster is in charge of the ship at all times on every day-to-day basis, except in times of combat. And the captain is in charge. The rest of the time, the captain says, okay, we're sailing to Tortuga. Quartermaster, make it happen. And then the quartermaster takes charge of the day-to-day. He goes to the bosun and says, okay, bosun, tell your sailors to set your tack at this. He goes to the navigator. Navigator, set our course in this direction. And he does the day-to-day running of the ship.
Got it.
So it's a very, very important job. The quartermaster is singularly, I think, the most important job on a pirate ship.
Certainly. So he's sort of the manager. I think the misconception is that he's sort of the assistant manager, which nobody should ever be, because I've never met an assistant manager who really didn't want to be manager and was a horrible person generally. So
right. No, the quartermaster is really it's the main boss. I like it about that vice principal thing. Oftentimes when you're in school, the vice principal is one that's going around checking on students and doing things. The principal sort of stays in the office and works on the paperwork and does stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing. They're in charge, like I said, at all times except in times of battle, and they are responsible for the day-to-day operations of the ship. The quartermaster was voted in and out oftentimes much more rapidly than the captain was.
I wonder why that is. Is just because he was probably the one that was disliked because he was handing out punishments and such?
Punishments as well as pay if you didn't feel you got your right pay or you thought they weren't doing the right job. There's any number of reasons, but they were voted in and out fairly often from the research I was able to ascertain.
Interesting. That's interesting. So on that same note, what kind of form does the educational aspect of what you do take? How do you educate?
Well, lots of ways. The first thing we do, like I mentioned, is we don't do the avast Robert Newton accent. We try and stay period correct with our terminology and with our accents. I don't let my crew wear skull and crossbones on their outfits, which I know a lot of other pirates are listening to your thing right now. Well, how do you tell we're pirates? That's just the thing is, if a pirate wore a skull and crossbones in history, if you walked into a port town wearing skull and crossbones and announced I'm a pirate, you'd be immediately arrested on the spot.
Right.
It's like a modern day burglar wearing a black and white striped suit or orange prison jumpsuit going, no, I'm not a criminal. I'm just a regular guy walking down the street, hanging out near your house. You just didn't do that.
Sure.
Pirates tried to blend in as everyday merchant sailors. So I try, whenever we ask us, are you guys pirates? No, sir. We're privateers. No, we're fine merchant sailors. Anything other than the P word, which would immediately get you arrested and hung.
Sure.
So that's part one. Another thing we do, we have a huge black powder armory display in our encampments.
Okay. It's
a big rack of guns that all fire from we have a 17th century grenade launcher, a hand mortar, up to a 6-foot-long musket. We have blunderbusses and matchlock pistols and handguns, which even predate the matchlock. And people come up, they will talk to us anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes just asking questions about the firearms and how they work and how we use them. And we show them to them. We'll let them hold them when they're unloaded, obviously, and such like that. And then also we gamble and sing period songs, and we let them know this is a game that was played by sailors for many, many millennia. And then when we do our sword fighting show, which is very exciting and swashbuckling and very over-the-top choreographed fighting, in between our choreographed fights, we actually have our Vanguard commander talk about actual ship-to-ship combat and how boarding was actually done and how combat really worked. It wasn't, big fancy over-the-head swings and, we'd knock over cargo and jump up in the air and do all sorts of stuff. Not like that. He says, here's how it actually worked. So even during our very exciting shows that are for the public to just enjoy, we still try to impart as much knowledge on them as possible.
So you're saying that two swordmen never actually fought inside a giant hamster wheel. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I'm trying to say that as much as I love that scene because that was filmed, that was done on an actual moving wheel and it's brilliant. Sadly, that probably didn't happen. I can't say it didn't happen, but it's unlikely.
So tell me a little bit about your involvement with Arnon Shore in his film, the Pirate Captain Toledano.
Oh, I thank you for asking. First of all, we at Clan Darksail, that is singularly our most proudest moment, I think, as a crew working on a project together. Okay. We've done a lot of stuff. Like I said, we just recently did some more stuff on the History Channel for their new show called Smoking Guns. Okay. Which is very cool. We shot some of our blunderbusses off and did some black powder demonstrations for them. Nice. And that's neat. And we did, for Ubisoft a couple years back, we did something called Assassin's Creed: The Devil's Spear. Sure. When Under the Black Flag was coming out, we did a 12-minute short film with Corridor Digital. And that was neat and exciting and fun. But we are so proud of the Pirate Captain Toledano. We call it the little movie that could. It's 10 minutes long. And it's brilliant. And I will tell you, going into it, I didn't know anything about Jewish history at all. I'm not Jewish by birth or religion. And the composer was a friend of one of my crew members, and they got us in touch. And originally Arnon had said, can you come in and I need 2 or 3 actors? And I said, yeah. So we came down to the reading and we did the reading. And I said, look, if you need some more people for this other scene, I can bring in some actors for you and some props and stuff. And he actually went home and rewrote 2 days before we were supposed to film. He wrote a whole new scene in which we could have my pirates down in the cargo bay kind of sharpening their swords and messing with their guns and gambling and trying to get that historical feel for the movie. And we brought him a cannon because I knew the ones on the ship we were going to use weren't the right time period for what he was doing. So we brought him a more accurate cannon to set up. And I brought a lot of props and cargo and stuff. So we did the film, and it shot all night, and it took forever. And I have one whopping line in there. I'm the brig guard.
Okay.
And I have one whopping line. But I consulting and helping them out with what they would be doing, what they would be saying. And, I helped them with the dialogue a little bit and how it all worked out. And we really enjoyed that. But afterwards, the community, seeing that going to the different screenings, which we do pretty regularly. If they're in town, I try and make the screenings. And seeing people respond in the audience. The first screen we had was for a bunch of Holocaust survivors in Los Angeles. And these people had been through oppression. This movie's about the Spanish Inquisition.
Sure.
And it was so neat to watch their reaction and see how it opened up a lot of dialogue. People were talking about it. And every time we do a screening, Arnon would always invite me up on stage with him because anytime people would ask a question that didn't involve the movie but involved piracy and history, I was the guy to answer the question. So I ended up doing a lot of research. Once again, as I mentioned, I'm kind of a research hound. So I went and researched a ton of Jewish piracy. I now have several books on the subject that I've read, and now I'm becoming quite the expert on it, which is interesting. It's a fascinating bit of history that is just not touched on. As you mentioned your podcast with Arnon, I listened to that whole thing all the way through, and you just didn't think about it. No one thinks about it. And it was actually a really big portion of piracy, especially in the Caribbean, in the New World, where they were escaping the Spanish Inquisition. So we had such a great time in that movie. We're hoping to work with him on some other projects he has involving both that and the book it was based off of, which is called Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And we really hope to be more involved and work with Arnon a lot more on that and some other projects he has, just because we really like him as a person. But it was fascinating working on that film. And we really, again, my whole crew just loved it. The ones that worked on it, even the ones that didn't work on it, have come to see the screenings. Every time it gets another laurel, which is crazy, we get about, I swear to God, 2 or 3 a week. The poster is getting so crowded with all these awards on it. And it's just so neat to have been a part of that project. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, it's I watched the film, and it's really, really well done, and feels like there needs to be more to it. You get to the end of it and you go, oh no, where's the rest of it? So that's a good thing. What other books and resources did you find about that subject? Because I know even Arnon had said he was pretty much working off that one book. What else did you find? There's
another one called Jewish Settlements in the New World.
Okay.
And gosh, if I can remember the author, I'd have it in front of me, and I don't. And then I followed some of the bibliography in that book to some links on the internet to find some different articles and just small things people had written. A lot of family anecdotes, much like the captain of our ship, Stephen de Cordova, talks about how he had family in the Caribbean. I went and found sites where people were talking about their history and looked up stuff like that as well. So
neat. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, because I was hoping to have the author of the Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean on the show, and found out he passed away about 5 years ago. So
yeah, right after he wrote the book, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And, his daughter sort of kind of took over the thing, but it's not really her cup of tea. So.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I want to find out more about that myself. What other kind of resources and books and things of recent vintage do you find to be pretty accurate and on par with, as opposed to the Captain Johnson book and things like that, which we've pretty much discounted now? What resources do you like now?
It's interesting. I'm actually involved in a discussion group on Facebook, which is called Authentic Pirate History from 1670 or 1690 to 17 something, and it's fascinating to watch these people argue. Because someone will say, "Oh yeah, their tricorns didn't really exist for pirates in history," and someone else will go, "Here's a woodcut of Thomas Paine or somebody wearing. Here's someone wearing or Charles Vane rather wearing a very famous pirateer wearing a tricorn." Well, yeah, but he was a noble. Sailors didn't wear them, and it just went back and forth. And the truth is, you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt, unfortunately, because almost any research you find a year later, someone comes to find something that contradicts it or whatnot. So I tend to stick with mostly period sources, preferably written by the actual privateers or pirates versus I was captive by a pirate crew and I saw them eat the hearts of their, whatever. You read all these weird fantastical tales that were in the news back then.
Right.
Mostly I stick to when I'm looking for costuming of the period and things like that. I look for actual woodcuts and paintings done by people in that period. Books and research. I have a whole library. We call it the Darksail Library, and it's there for my crew. They can check out when they want to read stuff. And Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean is in there, for instance. There's a lot of other books, and I can't honestly think of all of them off the top of my head, but some of them I have to actually have notes, post-it notes stuck in there going, ignore this passage, it's incorrect. Ignore this part. Because sometimes you get great books that have a lot of really neat stuff, and then they're just, and then they have something else where it's this anecdote, there's stuff throughout history where people have gone, oh, pirates wore an earring to pay the river Styx. Oh, to get when they crossed the equator. Oh, to pay for their funeral. Oh, they wrote their home port inside the earring. We don't have a lot of proof that pirates wore earrings at all. There's virtually none. William Pyle, who did all the illustrations for Treasure Island, that's a lot of that comes from him.
Sure.
So it's sometimes you have to go through and tough it out. One of my, I'll tell you right now, since I'm allowed to rant, here we go.
Go.
Biggest one right now is the eye patch wearing of pirates in the golden age of piracy. And I will preface this by saying that I'm friends with Grant Imahara and somewhat Adam Savage of Mythbusters, and I love them to pieces. They are all good people. But they did an episode called Why Pirates Wore Eye Patches or something. And they said that you could switch eyes when going to and from below decks, and you would be able to see better. And they did a test, and it worked out, and they said, yes, this myth is plausible. And then every single pirate group took it upon themselves to start telling people that's why pirates wore eye patches. In fact, it was at the Maritime Museum, and one of the other groups that was there with us for Pirate Days, that was one of the questions on their little form for kids was, why did pirates wear eye patches? And the answer was supposedly, so they'd go back and forth below decks. And here's the problem with that entirely. First off, by the golden age of piracy, which is the late 1600s, early 1700s, we had sunglasses.
Oh,
period. They were a thing. You could wear them. If you really want to go above and below decks and have that not fit your eyes, you could wear sunglasses. Even before actual smoked glass sunglasses, people that wanted that would tie a strip of thin black cloth over their eyes. Same thing. If it was the case that an eye patch protected sailors from going, night blindness, basically, every pirate in history, every privateer, every sailor, every naval commander would be pictured wearing one. Sir Francis Drake, Sir Walter Raleigh, Admiral Nelson, they would all be wearing an eye patch because they were sailors. And if a sailor all wore an eye patch, go below decks, they went below decks too.
Right.
So it just, why was this mentioned in why wasn't every single pirate wearing one then? Why didn't every account of piracy or even sailors say, and all the sailors wore eye patches to go above and below decks? Or, we boarded the ship and saw they were all wearing a single eye patch, so we knew they were privateers. It was never mentioned in history. No one ever said anything about an eye patch being worn by the majority of sailors. The reason why it's an eye patch associated with piracy is the same reason a peg leg and a hook are. Injury was extraordinarily common when you fought for a living.
Sure.
And you got even a scratch, you could lose your eye because we didn't have antibiotics back then. We didn't have anything else. So pirates wore eye patches because they got injured firing cannons and getting black powder, residue in their eye, and then they lost an eye. So that's my biggest pet peeve right now is it's going around that everyone at all the pirate fairs and festivals are going, oh, pirates wore eye patches to go above and below deck. And I'm going, just because Mythbusters said it's possible doesn't mean it actually happened in history. There's literally zero evidence to back that up. And so as a maritime, as a naval historian, that's one of my biggest pet peeves right now, specifically relating to piracy, because that's a pirate trope.
Yeah, maybe if the pirates back then had Mythbusters, they'd have gone, oh, that's a good idea. Maybe we should do that.
Right, maybe we should try that, but it's not,
So we had sunglasses back then. That part blows my mind.
So sunglasses started about 1620, 1640. They had what they called pince-nez, which are the glasses that just sit on your nose and don't have straps. And a little later, by about the 1690s, they had ropes that went around your ears. And they used the tinted lenses, just smoked lenses for sunglasses, just to keep literally the glare out of your eyes. They also had reading glasses, just like every modern, they had actual prescription-y type lenses, magnifying glasses. And then there's some controversy on whether or not the tinted lenses, yellow or red or green or brown, were to people that had syphilis and had or some other venereal disease that kept their eyes and made them sensitive. But there's no real proof on that one. I think the smoked lenses were just whatever people were able to smoke them with and wear. But yeah, we absolutely had sunglasses.
That's really interesting because because I'm a sunglasses guy. I've had sunglasses somewhere on my face or in my head since the 6th grade, I think. I use them to keep my hair out of my face when I'm on stage, and I actually have 2 permanent dents in the top of my head where the nose part of the sunglasses have been sitting since I was 12 years old. But I never knew that. That's really interesting. Thanks for telling me that.
They're very small round lenses, not big round lenses, John Lennon style, but very small round lenses, no plastic nose guard, just a straight bar across, and then a wire that goes back to your ear. And it's there's a couple companies that make them out there in the period style frames. James Townsend and Company, they're a Revolutionary War company, but one of their eyeglass, they have a pince nez that goes back to the mid 1600s. So
neat. I may have to get some.
Yeah. I know a lot of guys. I myself I'm blonde haired and blue eyed, so I'm real sensitive to sunlight. So I wear them as my persona. Very often I wear sunglasses.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely have to check that out. So where can people see you guys doing your thing in person? Which festivals do you hit and all?
So out of the 52 weekends of the year, Darksail does approximately 40 of them. We are everywhere all the time. And I don't know exactly when this is going to air, but I'm leaving in just a few days, 3 or 4 days. I'm leaving for the London Bridge Fair in Lake Havasu.
Neat.
We had just gotten back recently from the Yuma Fair in Arizona. It's called the Two Rivers Fair. At the end of March, we are at the Lompoc Renaissance Festival, which runs twice a year. In August, it also runs again as a pirate fair. And that's neat for us. If you happen to make up near Lompoc, which is in Central California, we are the main pirate group there. There's no Queen Elizabeth there. So I as the marquee, run the fair, and we do a black powder demonstration. We do an opening shot right at the front gate where people can see it up close and personal. That's a really neat fair. After that, we're at the Escondido Renaissance Fair for 2 weekends down near San Diego. We do 5 weekends at Coronaburg Fair in Corona, California in June. In July, we're at the San Luis Obispo Renaissance Fair, the Central Coast Renaissance Fair. August, again, back at Lompoc. September is... I don't remember. There's a fair or 2 in September. October is the Las Vegas Renaissance Fair, the Age of Chivalry Festival, which runs for 3 days. Then at the end of October is 2 weekends of Escondido Fair again. November, I think we have something. December, we do a Christmas parade up in Victorville, California. Also, we are at the Maritime Museum of San Diego on Pirate Days, which I mentioned earlier. That is the last weekend before Memorial Day. I want to say May 19th, 20th.
Sounds right.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. We're there every year. We also do their Festival of Sail on Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend, the one at the end of the year, Labor Day weekend.
You guys are super busy. That's crazy. That is a crazy schedule.
And between all that, we're doing, again, the TV shows and movies that we get hired for. We have our own YouTube channel called Clan Darksail Presents, which we've just launched and we're just getting started. And then, of course, anytime someone wants to hire us for a book reading at a school or an educational demonstration or a kid's birthday party, we do those as well.
Fantastic. Where's a good place for people to keep track of you online outside of the YouTube channel, which I'll make sure to link?
We have our own website, which is clandarksail.com, all one word. But mostly your best bet is to follow us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/clandarksail. And the name on the page there is, it says RFP Clan Darksail, which is short for the Royal French Privateers of Clan Darksail. But we regularly post there. Our Instagram, which we also have, which is #Clan Darksail, will get posted on there where we do videos and behind the scenes of us. Like we had a black powder class yesterday where I'm training my crew because we are very heavy on safety in this group. So we train 4 or 5 times a year doing black powder.
Okay. And
so we post all the behind the scenes stuff when we're on set and things like that on our Instagram, and that usually gets fed to our Facebook page as well.
Fantastic. What's the story behind the name? Where did that come from?
So honestly, and everybody goes, "Oh, Black Sails." We get confused with Black Sails a lot. And there's also there was a group for a while called Port of the Black Sail that came in a little after us, but they've, I think, since disbanded. Clan Darksail, I had done the research, like I said, and they painted their sails. Oftentimes, Madame Chang, the famous late period Chinese pirate, painted all her sails black, and I had read that people painted them red. And I didn't know, I didn't want to do black sail at the time. I don't know why I didn't like them. I said, what if I just what invokes piracy, and to me it was Darksails. And because we were in the SCA, I mentioned we started out in the SCA, and we were a clan, which is a great house. We had more than one group. I mentioned we had more than one ship. We had a couple different groups coming together. So we're going to be a clan, and we're going to be the clan of the Darksails, because that's what we just became Clan Darksail. And then after a few years of that, I registered the name the Royal French Privateers of Clan Darksail, because I needed something for our IMDb page and for all the other stuff we were doing. I wanted a trademark name that was significantly different from anybody, because at that point, the Port of the Black Sail had been around. The TV show Black Sails was still another 10 years off, but I want to make sure we had something significantly unique and established. So
nice.
It's the full name.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Cool. Well, this has been super fun, Richard. Is there anything I did not ask you about that you want people to know?
I don't think so. We are available for hire. You can find us on our Facebook page or on our website, and we love questions. As a historian, I will talk history all day. If you have a question about piracy that you think I might know the answer to, you are welcome to email us at info at clandarksail.com, and I will try and answer anything I can for you to the best of my ability.
That's fantastic. And one last, I have to tell you this. I don't know if you've heard it before. You have a voice very similar to Patton Oswalt's.
I have heard that, actually. And I'm not opposed to that. He's a great guy. I met him backstage at a gig several years ago, and I really like him, so I can't complain.
No, me neither. I've been just sitting here pretending I'm talking to Patton Oswalt instead. So. This has been fun, Richard. Thanks for taking the time to do it, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, and I love your show. I've been listening to every episode since I first heard about you, and I've really enjoyed it, and I keep up what you are doing. It is awesome that you are getting all this information out here, whether it's historical or Hollywood or whatnot. I just think it's really fantastic, and if I ever we do something interesting again via that sort of thing, I will reach out to you.
Super, man. I appreciate it. I hope we can talk again soon.
All right. Have a great day, man.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And there it is, friends. That is my interview with Richard Rasner, Damashi de Gascoigne, from Clan Darksail. That was fun. I like hearing the fun Hollywood stories and the depth of the breadth of gigs that come up for pirates. Everything from being at the kid's birthday party to being in the movies. I just think that's all so great. Don't forget, you can actually see the Pirate Captain Toledano. It's available to you now. I will link to that in the show notes where you can get it. It's very worth your 10 minutes of watch. It's a great short film, and I think you'll really dig it. So I'll link to that in the show notes where you can get the link to see the Pirate Captain Toledano. And if you want to find out more about Clan Darksail, go to facebook.com/Clan Darksail or clandarksail.com. They've got them. We are sponsored today by Pirate Radio, the Treasure Coast, WKKC-DB, playing the best music of today's hits and yesterday's classics, and Pirate Radio Talk, playing the best pirate shows, including Under the Crossbones, 24/7 commercial free. Yes. So to listen, go to Pirate Radio, the Treasure Coast, that is the music station.com, or pirateradiotc.com for the talk station. And don't forget to download the apps. That is the Pirate Radio WKKC-DB for music station, the app, and the Pirate Radio Talk app for the talk station, brought to you by iTreasure Radio, the very best digital media from independently owned stations at iTreasureRadio.com. So, hey, FumpFest is coming up, and you just looked at your stereo, or you looked at your speakers, or looked at your headphones, which is hard to do, and you went, huh? What's FumpFest? FumpFest is a comedy music festival that happens just outside Chicago each year, put on by a website called The Fump. It's very fun. I performed at it a few years ago, and I'm going to play you just a short little plug for the festival because I think you'll dig it.
FumpFest is taking place Memorial Day weekend in Chicago and will bring you a whole weekend of funny music with performances, games, panels, and more. This year's performing artists are Lauren Mayer, 2D6, Bill Larkin, Mark Gunn, Matt Griffo, The Library Bards, Mikey Mason, Power Salad, Steve Goody, Witty Cindy, The Shanty Shipwreck Show, and our FumpFest 2018 guest of honor, The Four Postmen.
Whatever happened to the chainsaw juggler? He was a good friend of mine.
Plus dumb parody ideas, Dementia Smackdown Wrestling, and Dare to Be Weird, a Weird Al burlesque tribute. FumpFest is taking place May 25th through 27th at the Elk Grove Holiday Inn just outside Chicago.
This is Luke reporting live from FumpFest 2017, and now we have Dornail with a comment. Dornail? That's how much fun you can have if you come to FumpFest 2018.
Visit FumpFest.com for additional information. That's FumpFest.com.
Yep, go check out FumpFest. It's a good time. I've got an ebook for you, Alexander Exquemelin's Pirates of Panama. It's originally published in 1678, first-hand account of Alexander Exquemelin's adventures on pirate ships as a doctor. And I got a free, cool little ebook version for you. Just go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the free ebook link. You can get it right there. Or if you're out and about, just text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. Again, text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. And that is our show for today, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. I always appreciate it. If you want to find out more about Clan Darksail and all the stuff that they're doing, go to facebook.com/Clan Darksail or clandarksail.com, and you can find it all there. We've got some amazing shows coming up. Next week, Cheryl Jones, British Navy expert. That's going to be fun. I'm actually seeing Cheryl this weekend because I'm going to be a guest on her podcast called Movies Made Me. And we're going to talk about all sorts of movies, and it's going to be fun. So anyway, she's coming up next week, where we talk about British Navy. A week after that, Dave Burgess of Teach Like a Pirate. If you were involved in historical reenaction or education of any sort, I think you'll find a lot of good stuff in that episode. That's really cool. Plus, he's just a fun guy to talk to. A week after that, Daniel Redman and Steve Bush from the Ahoy There podcast. If you haven't checked out those guys yet, go do that. That is an improvised comedy pirate podcast. It's very funny, very fun. And more coming up after that. So tune in next week, and I'll see you then. Thanks.